That's my secret, cat. I'm always angry.
Alright. I ran out of patience. On the roost!
Hey everyone, Captain, big fan of Spider-Man.
Avengers! Assemble.
Hello, Peter.
Hello and welcome to the Infinity Saga and Beyond an MCU fan podcast. My name is Jordan Wiegand, and with me today is Casey McGeorge.
How's it going, everybody?
Going good. So, for people that don't know, we usually record these on Sundays. We're recording it the day of. So this is, I've only gotten a chance to watch it once. We'll talk about it. I know some people might be waiting for Werewolf by Night. I haven't recorded that yet either, but
that gets a thumbs up from me. So
yeah. Well, how about Deadpool? I saw you watch that.
Yeah. So that was I don't know why that was my first time watching Deadpool. It was a lot better than I thought. In all fairness, Ryan Reynolds is pretty much a smart ass anyway.
Right.
So I wasn't expecting it to be as actiony or as good as it was. So I was very pleasantly surprised and thought to myself, why did it take me so long? I still got to watch part 2, and I got it there. I just haven't put it in my Xbox shares to play. But it was much better than I anticipated. Werewolf by Night, I definitely enjoyed it. I'll say I just turned 44. It harkens me back to old monster movies, like old monster movies, and I liked it. I hope it's something. I don't know if it's something they can continue with. How that would work, I don't know, but I would definitely be up for seeing more if they decided to continue with more of Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, I'll get to it in the review that I'll be releasing at some point, but definitely before Halloween. But I really dug it. I think it was one of the best things they've put out in this phase 4. So,
is it connected to any of the phases? Is it separate? Is it just
technically phase 4? But it is.
I'm sure they can find a way. I'm sure Kevin Feige can find a way there to connect it to the rest of phase 4.
You mean just Kevin, Kevin, right?
I'm sure Kevin or whatever can find a way to connect it to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, you can with Blade and Moon Knight. Those two.
Actually, I saw some Easter eggs, and it is already connected in some ways. Like I guess in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they made they asked about one of the characters in there. Like just ones that, like I looked up the Easter eggs for it, and that was one of the things. It already is connected in some ways, but it's not like some of them where it's very blatant or obvious. It's just kind of
right. Well, I think that's partly what I liked about it. It's like, okay, I think I'm adding that into my Halloween rotation every year because it's, like you said, very classic Universal horror, 1930s, 40s films.
Even the aesthetic and how they filmed it.
They nailed the black and white. Like, usually black and white, like what they do is they almost like film it normally and then just like put a filter on it. But, back then they had to do certain things with the lighting. And it felt like they nailed the lighting for black and white.
Not only that, but it gives the whole appearance of... like the little, I forget what they called it in Fight Club, like the little spots that'll happen.
Oh yeah, like the cigarette burn things. Yeah.
Yeah, like those pop up randomly all over the place too.
Yeah, so. Really cool. But we're not here to talk Werewolf by Night right now. We're actually here to talk She-Hulk episode 9, which is Whose Show Is This? Written by Jessica Gao, directed by Coiro, and it aired October 13th, 2022. The synopsis reads as Jen finds herself in trouble with the law and struggles to pick up the pieces of her life. Casey, what was your initial thoughts here on the finale?
I enjoyed the finale. From the intro all the way through, I found myself smiling and laughing at a lot of different things. I thought it was really well done, and I thought it was a good commentary, as we'll get to. Like, not everything needs to have these grand spectacles, or not everything needs to have this grand connection to a bunch of stuff. Sometimes it can just be, like I talked about before, if they do like a season 2 or go forward, like sometimes it can just be, you know what, then this is in the MCU, but this is just like Jen's small portion that deals with LA, Daredevil stuff. And if they bring Jessica Jones back and Luke Cage, this is just their small stuff that deals with their corner of Hell's Kitchen and Harlem and everything, and everything else. Now, they don't need to go as far as we talked about before with like the Midwest Defenders and the Great Texas Defenders and all that other stuff. But like, it can be enough to be like, you know what, these are the big guys, and these, not necessarily like they're A or B players, but these are our main stars. But in this world now that has a bunch of different things, these are some of the smaller things that are going on that you wouldn't know about unless you were in those regions. You wouldn't know, like, She-Hulk might make national headlines, right? Because she is connected to Bruce and blah, blah, blah. But, like I said, the stuff with, like, with Daredevil when his show starts, or if they bring back Luke Cage or Jessica Jones, stuff like that probably is not going to be all over the news where I'm at in Southern California. You're only going to hear about those things in that region of the woods. Just like there might be other She-Hulk things, like when she starts doing more lawyer stuff, that only I would hear about out here in Southern California, that people in Florida would not hear about, So I thought it was a good way to kind of separate itself, and I think it could continue to do that if it wanted to.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think I'm coming around to it more than when I first watched it. There was it was a little jarring at first, I would say, but we'll get to it. We'll get to that part. But I thought it was overall enjoyed it. It didn't like ruin the show. I saw some people saying this was a waste of time and all that for But
I didn't really. I decided I'm not going to look at like comments or anything.
Yeah.
But I saw some things. I saw one headline was like, it shook up the MCU, but did it really need to do it or whatever? And it was just like, did it really? Or is it just kind of more of a commentary on itself and maybe a commentary on us as fans? And
right.
What the MCU is in general instead of anything else. But
it's interesting. We'll get into it here. So the episode starts with homage to the original Incredible Hulk TV show opening credits,
like a
almost
shot
by
for shot remake. That was awesome. The only thing is, I couldn't tell. We talked about it earlier. Were they going to involve Lou Ferrigno in the show at all?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if maybe they tried, he wasn't interested. If maybe scheduling wise things couldn't work out, I don't know. But obviously it was a shot for shot remake or close to it, and the Hulk version of Jennifer was much bigger than her She-Hulk version, and they even went with practical effects for it, like a
it's her stunt double. It's like the person that doubles for her, like when they film She-Hulk scenes, they kind of use her as a stand-in and then put the digital over that person.
Yeah.
But they used her for this practical effect.
Like, that would have been a perfect opportunity to have, like, Lou Ferrigno in there. Like, I mean, you're going to be ridiculous. The show's kind of ridiculous in some ways.
Right.
Like, you're going to be blatantly ridiculous. Like, that would have been a perfect spot to just be, like, blatantly ridiculous. Like, But it still was done very well. And I didn't even realize until we finally got the line after the entire season. It wasn't until the intro of this one we finally got the "Don't make me angry." You wouldn't make me if I'm angry.
Yep. And it says the Savage She-Hulk, which is what her first comic was known as. Instead of, because somebody said, why isn't it Sensational She-Hulk? Because that's another comic line, but originally it was the Savage She-Hulk. But yeah, so we get this nice little homage to that, and then we kind of pick up where we left off. It almost plays it off as her dream, right? Where she's now in the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah, honestly, I thought we were gonna get a previously on She-Hulk thing. Mm-hmm. Which I guess this one would have been perfect for it. Like it really, but honestly, if you're all the way up to the season finale of it, you've probably been watching all along, so you probably have a good idea. Even if you're like us, where you're just watching it week by week, you still probably have a pretty good idea. But I thought it still would have been pretty cool to at least have, just a real quick a recap of the whatchamacall from last week. But so I was kind of shocked we didn't get that.
Yeah, like her hulking out, because I was gonna say the reason why we may not have is ultimately none of that meant anything, right? Like the blood plot kind of ends with her saying
well, no,
that
it still does
we're not gonna do
because remember he still went to jail. The Hulk King still went to jail.
Yeah.
So it still happened, and she was cleared. So,
but yeah, so we get her in the cell, almost like Blonsky's cell here, and she asks, like Pug and Nikki and Mallory if they've made contact with Bruce, who has not answered, and she then makes a deal to do the same thing Blonsky does, where she will. Not turn into She-Hulk ever again.
Which, I mean, there was a reason why I jumped straight to that, and I get, but it was also one of those things where it was just kind of weird, where it was like, okay, where did they even get these inhibitors in the first place? Was that something from Bruce? Or how do they come up with the technology or whatever to get to make the inhibitors?
You know what? It is from Bruce, isn't it? Because Bruce is wearing the same exact thing on his arm at the time of the accident. So,
but I'm saying is, did Bruce just decide to give him, hey, this is how you make an inhibitor for a Hulk? Like,
well, I think
Bruce
he
is obviously going to be fairly secretive with his stuff.
Maybe because the only reason I could think this is because I think did he say he worked on it with Tony in the lab? Because if so, I think Tony was technically involved with damage control. So if he worked on it with Tony then could have passed this on as another safety measure, like his Hulkbuster suit, right? Where he says, okay, if the Hulk ever goes mad again, we got this inhibitor. And maybe that's why. I don't know.
But, I mean, I think we asked about it when they put it on Blonsky, like, how do they, like, where did it come from? How do they come up with it? But whatever, they did. Okay, cool. And how much, is this taxpayer funded? Like, is this prison... And is this prison and is this stuff being taxpayer funded? Like,
it's a government department, I would assume so, right? Department of Damage Control.
Because I mean, just looking at all this, like, you got to have a very, because even we see later, it's like it says something like superhuman jail or whatever. Mm-hmm. So basically, it's kind of making like its own Arkham Asylum type thing, right? So, okay, they have their own. They have their own special confines to put these people in when they catch them. That's not going to be cheap in the first place. Two, you got to find a location where you're going to put it. You're going to want to preferably put it in the middle of nowhere, right? Like what we have now, ADX Supermax in Colorado is literally in the middle of nowhere. And that's where, like, the Unabomber is. That's where El Chapo is. That's where, like, the worst of the worst for us go right now. But it's literally in the middle of Colorado with nothing around it for miles.
Well, yeah, originally, that superhero prison was the Raft, which is where Captain America's Team Captain America is put in Civil War, in the middle of the water. So they did have somewhere originally.
But that's got to be even more expensive to, like...
Yeah.
And honestly, the only way I could think of having that on a raft or having that on a floating flotilla or whatever might be beneficial to them would be because then they might be able to try and say they're on international waters. So some rules don't apply and they could probably, like, torture or do some weird experiments on people, which isn't
true.
Cool. But so I'm just thinking about this. So, like I said, you got to have special things, blah blah blah. You got to monitor these guys constantly, right? You got to monitor Blonsky constantly. You got to monitor Jen 24 hours a day, constantly. As we've talked about on the break room when Mateo was on house arrest. When it comes to house arrest, or like if you get a DUI and you get one of those things on your steering wheel that you have to breathe into, there's fees that you have to pay to have that stuff installed, and then like monthly maintenance fees and everything. So it's not just like you just get a bracelet or you just get this thing put on your car. You have to, like, there's money that comes out of your pocket, which you probably don't have because you're going on house arrest, or you know you can't go to work because you have a DUI, you can't drive, right? So there's money that you have to put on there. So is Blonsky and Jen paying for their portion of these things? Like, I don't know. These are just some of the weird thoughts I had while watching this. Like, there's a lot of money that goes on to these things, and it's just one of those, like, how does that happen? You could tell she didn't like the fact that she was going to have an inhibitor put on her. I thought it was... I'm kind of surprised in a way that Mallory was kind of the one there in charge of her defense and everything. Not in a bad way. I just wasn't necessarily... I figured Jen would be there to see her. I figured Pug would be there to see her. I wasn't sure about Mallory, but I was glad to at least see that she was. And Mallory, whether it was due to having no choice that she was going to defend her, from her boss, or the fact that she felt maybe she owed it to her, to do. I was just a little surprised by that.
Yeah. I guess it works in a way of like that they are kind of more friendly now. It also just works as a semantics way if you're a screenwriter of, okay, we don't have to introduce another character, so I can see why they did that. But what happens here is that she's going to get out. She's going to move in with her parents because everybody's swamping her place, and because she doesn't have her job anymore. So she moved back in with her parents. I love her parents. Her dad, when the news reporters are coming, he just turns on the hose and starts spraying them, like, get off my lawn. Like, I love that they have her back no matter what. And like her mom asking her to move this cabinet, and then her being like, oh yeah, never mind, you can't She-Hulk anymore. You can't Girl Hulk anymore, is what she said.
Not only that, but like, when she first walks out, her dad's like, people go to prison all the time.
Yes.
Like,
every day.
Her mom and dad are awesome. And maybe it's just, I have a connection with that guy because he was Cousin Larry on Perfect Strangers for so long, right? And Mark Lynn Baker is an American treasure, and I just love that guy. I don't know. And now seeing him old with a big fuzzy gray mustache and everything makes me feel old myself because I'm like, man, it's been like I used to watch him like 40 years ago.
Right.
Quick side note: I did watch an episode of Perfect Strangers recently. I think it's on Hulu, or I remember watching it. Do you know how long the intro for Perfect Strangers was?
Minute and a half.
It was 90 seconds.
Oh, that's exactly
seconds of.
That's crazy.
Like, yeah, not like. I remember sitting there watching it like this thing's going on forever, and then I timed it, and it was
Does the show hold up?
Song. I only watched a couple quick episodes. There's some things that do just for comedy's sake and for the odd couple sake, but it was filmed so long ago, like 35 years ago or something like that. I mean, but yeah, her dad was awesome. I still wish I would have got Bronson Pinchot to make some sort of an appearance, but that might have been just asking too much.
Right. Well, her parents very supportive of her. They're gonna have her where she's allowed to kind of set up in the living room here for her.
Well, she wasn't necessarily allowed to. Her mom asked, like, "When am I gonna get my living room?"
Yeah, when am I getting my living room back? Hey, you're waking me up at 7 a.m. every day to do your workout in the room, all right? So let me have the living room to work on this case.
And Nikki is the best friend that everybody needs.
Yes.
She was there for that night. She was there for when she came out of jail, or when she woke up at damage in the jail there. She's still further investigating the whole thing from Jen's side to try and find out what's actually happening and what's going on. And that's the best friend everybody needs.
Yeah, and it's their whole thing is going to be Jen wanting to do it the right way legally, and Nikki saying like we'll pursue them any means necessary.
By any means necessary.
Yeah. But what they're going to find out here, Nikki and Pug are going to infiltrate the Intelligentsia event while she needs to get away. She's going to go to Blonsky's retreat.
Before that, Jen's mom is sharing video with Nikki, right? Of her in law school dancing around, being like a 21-year-old in law school, right? Probably drunk. Possibly drunk. I don't want to say probably. Possibly with some alcohol, like whatever. Because you're like, or just when she was in college. Maybe she was in law school, maybe college. But she was, 19, 20, 21, somewhere in that range. Doing things that like 19 and 20, 21-year-olds do when you might have had something to drink in college. Okay. Nikki is still doing her thing with intelligentsia, trying to figure out, because they can't figure out who Hulk King is, and they just have a bunch of weird dudes, right? So she's on there, and she uploads the dancing video to Intelligentsia, which gets a bunch of comments everybody likes, which then gets Hulk King to comment to her and says, "Hey, we're having a shindig that's tonight. You're invited. Can't wait to see you, bro." And that's when Nikki realizes, "Oh man, I can't go. Like, I gotta have someone else." So she gets Pug. Even though she already cashed in the favor, she still needed a favor from Pug, and I guess Pug was, he probably felt bad for Nikki and Jen. So it's like, okay,
anything for Jen, right? This. Well, what's fun about this too is, did you realize it was that cabin when they first walked in there? Because I did not. No,
I had no clue where it was.
Until she said, "Where's Blonsky?" and the wrecker guy says he's doing an event in his cabin. I was like, "Oh my god, that's his cabin!" Like,
I still had no.
Really?
I still had no until everything came together. That's when I was like, "Oh, it's the same place."
That was fun. I did not realize it at first, and then, Pug's gonna go infiltrate it. And he's wearing an earpiece, AirPod, right?
And Nikki's like, oh, everyone else will be wearing one. Nobody else was wearing one.
But nobody
Like,
questions it either. I feel like they're so commonplace now. People would just be like, yeah.
okay, I can get that to an extent. But you're also going to like a super secret society meeting, right? With a bunch of weird bros that like only you got to know like certain people. Like it's not everybody can just walk in, even though apparently we'll see later anybody can just walk in. But like not everybody can just walk in, right? You got to know secret handshake and code words to get information to find out where it is to get there, right? Or get an invite straight from the Hulk King. So he does. Okay, cool. But I would just find it weird because like if you're there for something like that, you're probably not going to be on the phone at all. Like nobody else was. So I just found it a little weird to be like, really? Nobody's thinking it's weird he's wearing an earpod and they see him walking around talking to himself or having a conversation with somebody on his earpod.
Right.
And nobody's like, hey, dude, nobody's supposed to know we're here. Like, what's going on? But for the purposes
they all
of the
seemed
story,
like, yeah, I was gonna say they all kind of seemed like tech bro douchebags anyway. That they would just be like, kind of oblivious to it, or think, oh, he must be like talking to his bro or something. But I love this part because it is, again, they nailed it perfectly a year ahead of time when they're filming this thing, because a lot of the reactions to, the Lady Thor, Mighty Thor,
yeah,
same sort of thing, right? I wouldn't have any problem with I would have the same problems with Lady Thor if it was Thor, right? It makes no sense.
No,
but
you wouldn't. No, you would not.
And then them getting on Jen and, Nikki telling them about, say she got her powers through nepotism, which I thought was just a great line, and everybody being like, yeah.
Is she wrong? Technically, no, but I get what you were trying to say, but
yeah,
she did get the powers because of her family connection, so technically, in a way, it's correct, just not in the way everybody's...
Yeah, it's not purposeful. But also, the reason it works, right, is because of her blood, of her being a part Banner, right? So there is that, because, Hulk makes that clear. So, and that her blood actually synthesized it better than his did. So in actuality, I guess it does run through the blood, but it wasn't, like Hulk's not like, I'm not giving this guy powers, but I'm going to give my cousin powers. And
I get that. And then we find out the dude who's just been a jerk the whole... Actually, before that, we got the guy... There was the interview with the guy, which made Jen finally decide to go up there, with the guy who she used to work with at the DA's office. Tried to say that they had a brief relationship or whatever, and she was crazy back then, and
blamed her grandmother, like, right? Isn't it?
And that's when she was like, "Okay, I have to get out of here." But we get our other guy from the date, who the Wakanda Forever guy, I forget
Todd,
what his name was, Todd, who we find out, dun dun dun, Todd is the Hulk King. I don't know if you had called that. I don't think I saw that one coming, and I was kind of disappointed in that one. Like, really? Todd? Like we're not setting up an actual big villain here? We're gonna go with Todd? Okay. I guess.
Yep, Todd is... I told you he was bad news.
Well, look, there was nothing redeeming about the guy in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. But, like, we had the guy from the movie who's gonna be in New World Order down the road. Like, they could have worked him in some way. Yeah. But, we're going to go with Todd? Like...
Yep, well, I guess that's part of, Todd wanted powers, which he gets in this version until Jen is able to kind of put a stop to it. He brings up to Jen when she comes in that Josh is the one that, took her blood. But yeah, so Jen is at Blonsky's retreat. Wrecker is there, and he's saying about, like, oh, it sounds like you have a lot to share tomorrow. And she's like, no, I really just want to speak to Blonsky. Where is he? He says he's holding this private event.
He really is the only one who can kind of understand what she's going to, which literally he is, because he's the only other one who has a Hulk or is capable of hulking out, who now has this inhibitor on him, and has to learn how to control himself, and kind of had his life taken away, and blah, blah, blah. So,
and at first here, they do this nice switch, right, where Blonsky comes out, and you're thinking, oh, he's part of this, right? But you can tell by his speech, he has no idea what is going on or who these people are.
Blonsky didn't come out.
Yeah, Abomination did.
Yeah, so apparently the guy paid a lot of money to get Abomination to show up at this douche bro thing and give some sort of a speech, which, okay, I mean, Blonsky's got to make money somehow.
Yeah.
Did you catch the courtroom sketches at the end?
Not all of them, no.
So apparently we can figure out how he's able to trick the people monitoring his thing. Somehow he got his monitor off, or his inhibitor off, put it on a chicken.
Oh, so that's why it shocked. That's why he had the issue when they came up the other time.
Possibly. But yeah, it showed him like
because he had said it was with the chicken.
It showed him putting it on a chicken and putting it like outside of a hen house or something. So I was like, oh, okay, that's how he was able to get around that. Cool. So yeah, Blonsky's there as Abomination, and then you get Jen walking in, and Abomination changes, and they have their own discussion. Nikki walks in at some point.
Yeah. Hulk smashes into the ceiling and starts fighting Abomination.
Yeah, because Abomination starts fighting everybody.
Yeah.
The whole thing was starting to get out of control. Mm-hmm. And before that, yeah, that's when you brought up Todd decides to lay out his master plan, like every villain does, and show that he got a sample of her blood, and somehow he was able to make it, and he was going to Hulk out himself, and he does, and turns into some weird Todd Hulk? I don't know.
Yeah. Something like that.
I don't even know what to call that thing. I don't even know if it was fully transformed or not. Because it still seemed to have like a weird Todd head on it.
Yeah, I mean, it was mainly like how, Ruffalo looks like Ruffalo a bit as Hulk. Like, he did look a little goofier, though, Todd. So, yeah, it gets out of hand, and Jen's like, all right, stop. This is getting messy. Is this what you guys really want in this show? It does this fun little, like, almost reboot where it takes you to the Disney Plus home screen for Marvel. And I saw so many people think that that it actually, like, crashed. And then she pops out of her She-Hulk button and finds the Marvel Avengers Assembled, the behind the scenes featurettes for it that they always do. She jumps into there, and she's gonna go find the writers.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
to just be like, okay, no, we got to put a stop to this.
It was cool how they were able to use something that they actually use on Disney Plus, like that Assembled, thing is behind the scenes for every single show and movie they've done since Disney Plus. They put out one of those for it. So the writers knowing that and being like, okay, that's how we'll use it to get to behind the scenes, which is then how we'll get to Kevin, which everybody's talking about Kevin, this is the way Kevin wants it. Right. And when we get to Kevin, it is not Kevin Feige, but Kevin, a robot, still wearing the baseball hat. He's still sporting the baseball hat.
But even before that, so she gets there, she busts into the writer's room, right? There's all the writers, and they have different things from like episode 1, you know,
Mm-hmm.
08, 9, and there's different storyboard ideas up there. And we get to see Jessica Gao is in there. She's actually one of the people in the writer's room.
Yep.
And a bunch of other people. So imagine if you're literally the dudes making the show and you're creating this, and your creation, She-Hulk, walks in. Like that'd be a little jarring, to say the least. Yeah, She-Hulk's not really happy with what they're doing. Like, is this the way we really want to go to end the season? Like you said, it's almost kind of like in WandaVision where they were like, for the children, that's what Kevin wants. So
Right.
you know, that's what Kevin wants, so that's what Kevin gets. Which
And Kevin stands for, by the way, Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus.
Which, I mean, look, say what you want. Kevin's done a pretty good job already. Going all the way back to Iron Man, right? Like, can't really knock. Kevin's been pretty good. So she's like, okay, I'm going to go find Kevin. Which, one of the Easter eggs that I found, that was the actual Disney Studios, and that's
Yes.
the actual Marvel headquarters that they filmed in. Like, that is the actual, I don't know if that's outside of Kevin Feige's office or on his floor, but that is the actual, like, that is legitimate what it looks like up there, which I want to go there so bad now.
Could you imagine that going into work every day and that's what you're seeing? Like, you see the 7 dwarfs outside the building. You go in or go past there and find the Marvel building and see all the Iron Man suits. Like, it's crazy.
I'm sure there's probably a Mjolnir in there.
Oh,
maybe
probably,
Captain
yeah.
America, like a replica of Captain America's shield was, you know, in there, stuff like that. Like it's one of those things. Yeah, it's just, you know, I'd be amazed every day, but it probably gets old after a while. Like, I can imagine, you know, if you're someone who sees it every day, it's not the same for you, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants to meet Kevin. So he's like, hey, I need you to sign this non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah.
And then, which, in all fairness, I wonder if she would have said no. Like, what can he really do? Like, you're just some dude at the desk, and that's She-Hulk. So, like, who's really gonna win in this situation?
Right.
Probably not you. Like in Austin Powers, it'd be one of those things. Like in Austin Powers, was it 2 or 3, with his dad, where he's like, "Come on, really? You're gonna do this? Look at you. You don't even have a name tag. Like, just go ahead, lay down. Like, you know." He says, "You know how many anonymous henchmen I've killed in my life? Like, just go ahead. Just go ahead, lay down. There you go." Yeah, that probably would have been the best thing for the guy. She has a fight with some security guards that just don't end well for the security guards at all. And then she gets to meet Kevin, which is just an AI controlled camera. I don't know what that would be considered. Like,
Yeah, well, he's a knowledge enhanced visual interconnectivity nexus. That's what he is. And he's the one been making all the decisions, and he's going to answer her questions. But first, she has to change back to her regular self because it's expensive for the She-Hulk.
this was so
And do it
great.
off camera.
He's like, our visual effects artists have already moved on to the next project. So,
And did you hear it when it did that? They did the Wakandan drums because Black Panther's coming out.
Yeah, I saw that in the Easter egg thing, but I was just like, and one of the other podcasts I listened to has talked about that, how with some of the things you can tell, like, she always changes off camera just because it's expensive. It's probably just the cost thing, and unfortunately Marvel has had some issues in the last several months or so about how they treat and pay their visual effects artists, which hopefully they can get some better working conditions and better pay and take care of those guys better. They're making you guys a ton of money, and they usually do not even usually, they do a great job in what they do. Even with like She-Hulk, where there's a couple things I saw where I was like one of the scenes in this one with one of the security guards, I was like, that doesn't look great. But then again, I was like, that might have been done on purpose because she's kind of
Right.
in a
Right.
hallway
True.
at Marvel Studios, right? So you can't really can't really set up an actual action scene in the hallways at Marvel Studios, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I get that. There's probably something else going on around that, but so yeah, he's like, so yeah, camera goes off and she changes back to Jen.
Yep. And it was that was great. Now she wants it to be her show. She's a lawyer. She wants it to be a lawyer show, and she wants to give Kevin a closing argument. And the main argument here is that the MCU is known for big spectacles, but it's often said that Marvel movies all end the same way. And Kevin wants to know who's saying that. Why did Kevin need to throw in so many plot lines and weird blood thing with Todd? What if we
like that's
don't do
basically
that?
the same as the super serum from Captain America?
Yes. Well, you know why it is because technically that's what they were trying to replicate in the Incredible Hulk, which made him the Hulk. Jen was excited about how her story was about learning how to live as both Jen and She-Hulk, and then things started falling apart. And then Kevin asks what she wants, and she wants Hulk Todd to be out of there. She says the powers aren't the villain, Todd is. She doesn't want Bruce to swoop in and save the day. And I like that Kevin here tries to justify that. Bruce was going to show up and explain what he was doing on Sakaar, and she's like, save it for the movie.
But we were going to introduce... Nope.
Yes.
And some things we had talked about previously that what he could be doing up there. You had talked about where it could lead and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was a good way to be like, but there's more to come, and like this is what we're trying to do. And,
right.
And this is, I guess, she said save it for the movie, so maybe that's a hint that maybe next year that Universal thing is finally up and there might be a Hulk movie
maybe
coming out. Like, once again, Marvel doesn't just Marvel does everything Marvel does is purposeful for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
So that they would have to know, even though these things have been done months in advance, right? So it's not like South Park where they finish the story sometimes like hours before it gets sent to air. So it can be crazy topical of stuff that's happening during this week. Like, this has obviously been done for months and with the visual effects and everything. But they had to know, like, people are going to talk about, various things. And is the Hulk, is the contract with Hulk and Universal up next year? What are we going to do? Are we ever going to get a Mark Ruffalo Hulk movie? Blah, blah, blah.
One of the rumors is next year it ends, but I guess we'll see on what comes of that. You know what I like, though, is that we'll get there, but Kevin sneaks this in anyway, by the way. He sneaks this in at the end of the episode.
There's that, and there's been some delays in scheduling and everything. Stuff has to be shifted around. But I didn't realize, because I haven't followed it that much, there's at least, I think over the next couple of years, there's like 4 or 5 like untitled Marvel movie slots that they have, where literally for their schedule they're just like September 20. I'm not sure if this is the date, but it's like September 23rd, 2023, untitled Marvel movie. December 15th, 2023, untitled Marvel movie. And it's like, wait a minute, like, do you know what you're making there? You're just not telling us. Like,
mostly that. Yeah,
I think it's as I was thinking about it, I think it's something that they already know what it is, and it's probably going to it'll probably be revealed with some of these other shows or movies that as they come along, then they can, typically at the end of one of their movies, they always have the Hulk, so and so will return in, Avengers 6, or this guy will return in this movie, and it's like, oh, okay. So so she says there's that. She wants Blonsky to kind of take ownership of the things he's done wrong, which sends him back to being Blonsky instead of Abomination. And then she keeps going, and she just keeps trying to slide stuff in there, like, "Hey, when are we getting the X-Men?"
Yeah,
and I love his response of, "I can't tell you that."
Yeah. Well, she asks about the X-Men. She gives a knowing look to the camera, like, yeah. And then
like,
she
I'm
also
trying to
asks
get some info for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, she asked for Daredevil again.
That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, her line of, that's what we do. Like Hulk smashes and I smash like bad endings.
And Matt Murdock. She even asked, "Can I get Daredevil again? A woman has needs." And even Kevin had to be like, "Yeah, we're kind of light on those aspects." So
yes, he knows that.
That's one of those things where I had to smile, because those things, you saw, it made Jen happy to get Daredevil back, and whatever happens with Daredevil and Jen, hey. Have fun. Be safe. Have fun. Although the children between those two would be unbelievable. That's a whole nother topic down the road.
Well, what's fun too, right, is the way he's introduced into the scene when they get back to it.
Just literally dropped it.
Just dropped from the sky, like Kevin just being like, "There he is."
You wanted him. Here you go. Bam.
Because remember, everyone, we're in the middle of the woods. There's like a cabin and like
she
nothing
changed
else.
It from night to daytime.
Yes, yep. And he just drops in.
She changes all this stuff. Like I said, the X-Men thing was great because I was like, I knew we wouldn't get an answer. I'm like, maybe Kevin will give a hint here, like even if he just said something like next year, like, oh really? Okay, like, wait a minute, Kevin says, I can just see the headlines now. Kevin says X-Men coming next year. And you still got a whole year to do that, right? And there's a lot of different ways. But we didn't get anything. It was just like, I can't tell you that. Like, damn it. Come on, Kev. Give us something here.
Yeah, I really wonder, like, if it's one of those untitled ones, or if we're waiting until the end of Secret Wars, like what they're going to do with the X-Men and how they're going to do it. Because X-Men with so many mutants, I feel like you could have X-Men movies, right, be like almost Avenger level, and you can give some of those characters Disney Plus shows, right, and then have them team up in an X-Men thing of, it was over here was this core group of X-Men like Cyclops, Beast, Jean Grey, Wolverine, and then over here we have Gambit with Rogue and Jubilee, and then they're gonna meet up or something. I don't know.
I was gonna say, yeah, you could even take away Wolverine, right? Because that's a whole can of worms that you could get into with the whole Deadpool thing, or trying to figure out what they're gonna do, or it, like with Wolverine, you could say maybe it's from another reality based on the whole Doctor Strange. Like, there's a lot of different things you could do. So take Wolverine out of it for now, but even if they wanted to, depending who they get for Professor X, right? You could do separate shows that shows how he gets in contact and decides to recruit all of these characters.
Yeah.
To get him to his school. So even if you wanted to say take the next 2 years to do it, right? You could, even if it's just like 6-7 episodes, you could show, okay, maybe start off with the thing between him and which I don't know if you could, because it's already kind of been done with the first X-Men movie and all them, with him and what's his name? Magneto. But you could in a way if you wanted to. But then, okay, how Charles decides to, get his first, I know it sounds weird, get his first couple of mutants to his school, and then how they go about recruiting all these other ones. And then, like you said, how they, like, okay, maybe it's just him and Jean first. I don't know who came in the X-Men first or not. But then how do they go about getting Storm? How do they go about finding out about and hearing about Gambit or Beast and Cyclops and all these other ones where eventually it gets them to where they make the entire X-Men, which
Right.
then could lead to an X-Men movie. That's just a rough guess. I'm pretty sure Kevin and his great writers and thinkers at Marvel have a much better plan than what I just laid out.
His algorithm has it all sorted out.
Or based on the fact that he might be connected to Alexa and people's various Google Homes and things, they might have just stolen that idea from me, and there's really nothing I can do about it. Because he's Kevin and he's an AI, and there's no way to prove that it came from me. So, sure.
Well, so, she gets dropped back in. It's daytime. She goes up to Todd and says that she'll, see him in court.
She goes up as She-Hulk at first.
Yes, yeah.
And Todd gets scared because he realizes, and in all fairness, I probably would too think, yep, this is going to end badly for me. I'd rather go to jail than, well, I don't know if I'd rather go to jail than have She-Hulk get a hold of me. But that's a whole separate conversation as well. But, yeah. So, he thinks, she's going to physically do something to him. And she morphs back down, which they did show on camera, I think, for this one. She morphs back down to Jim and tells him, I'll see you in court. And he's going to have to deal with it there. This is when Matt plops down. Jen's happy. She's like, give me 1 minute. I got to take care of something. She says goodbye to Blonsky. He's going back to jail.
10 years.
Also, we had a book of Blonsky haikus earlier in the show.
Yeah, with a very bad Photoshop cover.
Oh my God, that was so bad. It was great.
Yeah,
to see that Photoshop cover of just Tim Roth's head on some weird dude or whatever.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was intentional.
But it was so great, and the haiku was just so horribly bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it seems like it's gonna maybe end on a better note.
Yeah, that we end up at a cookout in the backyard.
We end up with her going to court first.
Oh, is that first?
I thought it was first.
I thought it was the end. I think that's the end right before her. Because then it goes to credits where she asks. So they have a barbecue first. Then after that, it's her going up onto the steps of court and the reporter asking her a few questions. But in the backyard, we have her family that we saw from the first episode. We have Matt Murdock's there, and they're really grilling him about his situation, how he doesn't make money because he does pro bono cases and all this kind of stuff.
I was just waiting for her dad to be like, "What are your intentions with my daughter?"
Yeah,
he kind of did say that because he
and Jen's like, he's here a week,
whatever he said, he's like, this is all the conversation's about. But I was honestly waiting for what do you plan on doing with my daughter here? What was the cousin there? The loser cousin?
Yeah, he's there. Yep.
What was his name? I forget. Yeah.
What was his name?
The DJ, whatever.
His name is something that is not too familiar, so let me check here. It is well, where is it? I'm looking at the list of the cast here. Ched.
Yeah, Ched's there, the whole family's there. And we get an official appearance by Cousin Bruce.
Yep, he comes back. And he wants to introduce, because it is a family cookout here, he's going to introduce...
He was back, he's back in the car. And he'll explain what he was doing up there, but first, he has to introduce his son.
Scar.
What kind of name is Scar?
Hey, that's, Mufasa has a brother named Scar. Hulk has a kid named Scar. It's a common name in Disney lore.
that scar is because he actually has something on his
Yeah,
face. But excuse me, I get from another planet. But then I started wondering about the logistics of Hulk smash, basically, right? Okay, Hulk had a child.
Yep.
Who did he have a child with? Is this an alien from Sakaar? Is this another human that's on Sakaar? The logistics of it don't work out for me because Hulk is massive. And
her name is let me see if I can pronounce this right. Her name was Coiro. She's an alien.
And I know it's for comics, but trying to procreate from a human with an alien and various things, like I don't know where, I don't even know where to go with that. But
we had a whole planet conceive with a person and make Star-Lord. So I mean, it is possible.
But the planet went and turned himself into a human being.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's some way that this works out here. Maybe Hulk it can procreate with aliens better than Bruce could.
I'll say, if you haven't seen it, look up the movie Mallrats. One of Kevin Smith's early movies. There was a guy in there, I think Jason Lee played the character from My Name is Earl. And I think his name was Brody. I'm not sure. He was a big comic fan. And they got to meet Stan Lee. Stan Lee was actually in the movie Mallrats. And they asked him some questions, which I will not spoil on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But it's an interesting question. And it's an interesting answer from Stan Lee.
I'll have to look it up. Okay, so we get Scar. The name, I'm guessing, comes from him being named after almost the planet, right? Because the planet name is Sakaar, and this is replacing the A between the S and the K, and just his name's Scar. That's how it's spelled for people that don't know. Skaar, not Scar. But yeah, so one, he's got an awful haircut. I feel sorry for the kid. It's like starts back here for whatever reason.
That might be some of the alien DNA that's
it didn't.
I don't know.
It didn't do it right. But other people said, let's not forget who gives the haircuts on Sakaar, and they showed a picture of the Stan Lee cameo with his all his blades and stuff on his hands.
Really?
Yeah. From Ragnarok, yeah.
Okay. And then not only that, but like it brings the heat off of Jen and Matt. So they kind of have a couple minutes to just kind of be themselves over there. Also, before that, was it her aunt or a cousin or something that was trying to hit on Matt? That like her husband had to like pick her up and take her away?
Yeah, I think that was his the aunt. Her aunt? Chad's mom?
She was trying to get awfully close to Matt.
Yeah. Her husband she's like, why don't you stay?
Her husband had to be like, nah. That's going to be an interesting conversation later.
Dear, I'm right here.
Look, maybe they're into some things. And look, to each their own. Not my place to judge or anything. I don't think they would be that public about it in family. But she was very impressed with Mr. Murdoch there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we get this nice little moment, and then we get to Jen heading to trial as she's a lawyer again. She's as She-Hulk. She's going. We don't know if she's working with GLK and H.
That was going to be my question. Do you think they hired her back, or do you think she has her own firm or something?
I would hope she has her own firm. Because GLK&H really kind of like cornered the market for superhero lawyers, it seems like. Maybe she can kind of be a competitor to them. I don't know. It's interesting. I guess we won't really know until if we ever get a season 2 on where she works.
I would hope she went back. I mean, I know she could do it on her own, and that wouldn't be an issue. But I wouldn't mind seeing her back at the big firm there. And some people will say, well, why would she go back? They let her go and everything. And sometimes you have to look at the situation. Like, honestly, in that situation, they didn't have a choice. They could have maybe suspended her or something. But even what's her name? The other lawyer said, like, an entire room of people saw you lose control as a Hulk and just start demolishing things. Like, at the time, yeah, even if she was just suspended, she still have to go away for a period of time, just because, like, that other, if she's still there, that's good. That could probably cost them money, clients, and various other things. And we got Titania again in this episode.
Yes, she came in
just to make an appearance, and even in the commentary they were like, really? Does she ever use a door? Like, what is she doing here? Which I was kind of surprised a little bit, but I wasn't, because like I said before, I thought that when they had that fight, that was probably the last we would see of Titania. So it kind of didn't surprise me that we saw for another 52 seconds here. And that was it. And she got in the fight, and then that was it. No more. But so yeah, she's gonna. I think she was going to trial for Todd. And Todd's gonna be held accountable for what they did, because what they did was wrong, taking very private images and things and leaking them to the public.
Yep.
And they definitely deserve some punishment for that.
Yep, and we get the fun end credit scene here where Emil is in his prison cell, and up comes Wong with his portal and apologizes for being late. And Emil asks him if he was sucked into another show, and he's like, "We are in the era of peak TV." And then Emil's asking about Wi-Fi at Carmitage, and of course they have that. So he's going to go hang out with Wong, and I'm not sure where this is going to be going.
Two things on that. Number one, first and foremost, I'm upset that we did not get, what's her name? Madison back with Wong. One more appearance of Madison would have just been perfect. But I think because they probably, like I said, they shot this show so far ahead of time, maybe they didn't realize Madison was going to be such a hit,
Yeah.
Two, they kind of spoiled themselves, because as the credits were going and the guest starring thing came up, and it's like, okay, guest starring Mark Ruffalo, guest starring so-and-so, guest starring Benedict Wong. And I was like, wait a minute. He hasn't been on, like, they haven't shown Wong yet. Like, so then it was a matter of, okay, now I'm just waiting. Because I'm like, he has to come in the end credit scene, because he hasn't been in it. Like, they didn't even show him in a flashback or anything real quick. He hasn't been there. And then he popped up. Which I kind of get. Like, you still have to put him in the credits. And if you put him in the end credit scene, then it just kind of, there's really no way around that. But
I guess it's good I didn't pay attention to it. Because I was on my break, I just kind of keep hitting the skip button until the end of the credits.
I watched it this morning. And I was sitting there watching it. Like I said, I looked for all those things. But yeah, it was only like maybe 10 seconds before he showed up on screen. But it was...
Oh, okay.
So it was just, like I said, it was one of the things, guest starring so-and-so, and then it was like Benedict Wong. I was like, wait a minute, we haven't seen him yet. And that, like, I got my hopes up for a quick second. I'm like, oh, maybe we'll get Madison back, and then we didn't get Madison.
Hopefully, the next time Wong shows up. But yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go with these characters. Like where Blonsky will go with Wong, and like the next time we'll even see Wong. Like we don't really know at this point. If we have to wait until Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, or if he's gonna pop up somewhere else with Blonsky. Maybe they do show up in Thunderbolts or World War Hulk. Not World War Hulk, but New World Order for Captain America.
Maybe Black Panther, but I doubt it. I mean,
yeah, very doubtful for that one, which is coming close soon. About a month away from Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. Right? Yeah, November 11th.
Yeah, I just saw a commercial for it on the Thursday night game.
But yeah, I'm really excited for that. I think that movie looks really incredible from the trailer so far. So I'm hoping we get some good stuff with that. So I guess wrapping up here, any final thoughts here on the whole of She-Hulk season 1, if that is indeed. They said season finale on here, so I'm maybe thinking we might get more.
Yeah, so I when I first clicked on Disney Plus on my TV, that was on the band. I got a Vizio, so I open up Disney Plus, put in my PIN, blah blah blah, and the banner right across the top of Disney Plus was She-Hulk, and I actually started the episode for a second, and then I backed out because I wanted to see, did it say series finale? Did it just say season finale? Like, I saw it had something. It said season finale. So hopefully that means we will get a second season. I think I would like to see more seasons of this, like I said before, just from a perspective of the law show aspect and just dealing with some of these smaller things and more of her normal life as She-Hulk. I think would be great. Like, there's no reason not to give us that, unless maybe the numbers for this that they're not going to tell us about aren't that good.
Apparently, it's doing better than Andor right now on Disney Plus, which is crazy. But from the third-party sites that measure this stuff, people said She-Hulk's doing better than Star Wars Andor. So,
I as for the whole season, I really, really like this show. For me, I don't think there's anything that can put it ahead of WandaVision, just because I was so connected to the characters of Wanda and Vision and everything that had happened with, like, there was so much time that I spent with them over several movies, and the emotional aspects of Infinity War and Endgame, like that's at least for me, that I don't know if that can be topped. And then showing Wanda trying to deal with grief, and she put an entire town under her spell, like, and just the really creative things they did where they decided, okay, you know what, 1 week we're gonna do a 50s episode, and then we're gonna do a 70s one, and stuff like that.
Or when the credits are scrolling up and they continue, she makes the credits move, like, hey, we're not done. We're not cutting to or she's trying to make the credits come up and Vision keeps talking or whatever. However it worked out, right? In that one episode.
And then even the silly thing of, like, then you get, Agatha, which led into her own show, and her music video and the song that is great of Agatha All Along.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was just fantastic. So I can't. I don't know if anything could top it for that for me, but this is by far and away the next best thing that's on that I've seen, and I've really enjoyed the things that I've watched. But this was a pleasure from start to finish, and I want more of it, and I hope we get more. I even love their commentary on themselves. and the commentary that they knew was going to come on the show and their characters and everything.
Yeah. One thing I think that works really well, if anybody is like taken aback by what happens, I guess, is just rewatch it, right? Think back to some of the stuff that we've talked about on here, where in the first episode, when she's in denial of it being a superhero show, she says, what? It's a lawyer show. Because that is what she wants the whole time. And as it keeps straying further and further away from that, at the time I was thinking, okay, I even said in some of these, she hasn't done a lot of court cases. It's been Pug and Mallory and Nikki that have done some of these court cases. And at times I thought, okay, yeah, I was like, that's strange when she's so adamant about it being a lawyer show. But guess what? It flips on its head in this episode when she says, that's what I want this to be. Like, I don't want it to devolve into this, third act spectacle at the cabin. And so they kind of set that up. They set it up throughout the whole season. They even, that I think something is that really impressed me with that is if you're going to go back and rewatch it, the hints are there that at some point, and we kind of build up to these little fourth wall breaks that will eventually lead her to saying, no, I'm taking control. How many times have we heard her say in the show, whose show is this? This is my show. And she kind of grabs the steering wheel at that last episode when she says, whose show is this? This is mine. So I'm going to barge in to Marvel Studios and I'm going to get what I want. So again, it's all there. It's all there building up to this that I think pays off. I can see if some people think, like I said, it was jarring for me at first too. Just like, I know she does this in the comics. She's done this in the comics where she goes to the writer of her comic and complains about some of these plots. But it was kind of jarring seeing that in action, right? Like seeing that in action for a bit and being like, wow, it's kind of surreal. Like seeing the Disney Plus screen and all this kind of stuff. But I think it'll play better for people that didn't like it the more they watch it, if they give it that chance, because the clues are there. That she's not happy with the direction of the story, that she keeps asking whose story this is. Let's not forget it's my show. She says at the beginning of last week, right? Previously on my show, right? So this is stuff that's built up to this where she really takes control of her show here and gets the satisfying ending and storyline that she wants and probably deserves. So just something I thought about as we've been talking about it is like, man, they've really been hinting at this stuff. And I don't think many people saw this coming. We were looking at the hints of, oh, Hulk King is going to be Todd, or Hulk King is going to, got the blood and now he's going to become Red Hulk, or, all the theories that were out there, and them pretty much subverting those expectations and giving us exactly what they said they were going to give us originally.
Yeah, I mean, this has definitely been a different kind of show. It's definitely been more on the comedic side. It's given, obviously, with the fourth wall breaks, but it delved into a lot of different things that other shows haven't, and it showed, like we said before, every show has kind of had its own. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I can't think of the word. And every show has been different from every other show that they've had on Disney Plus, right? But ultimately, from what I gather, most of them have had these massive, finale scenes and various things. And we almost got one, or we got like a eighth of one today, and they decided, she decided she didn't want that. And, does it have to have, like, this might be a show that doesn't necessarily need that. Like, yeah, if they continue on, it'll be She-Hulk and she can have some of those action scenes throughout the show, but it doesn't need to be where she has this big action scene every single week, or in the third act of every single time, where she always has to fight, and more on the comedy and more on the lawyer stuff. They compared it to Ally McBeal, which was heavy on the comedy. They could possibly even tackle some real issues in this show if they wanted to. And it'll be interesting to see how they would go about doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought I was not on mute. Overall, really interesting, really intriguing. I'd love to see where they could take a season 2 if they get a chance to do it. I guess we'll find out. I think this one was developed with plans where it can go on from here, unlike something like WandaVision, where that was kind of heading to Multiverse of Madness. So I feel pretty good about maybe the prospects of a She-Hulk season 2 at some point. Maybe not right away, but
and they even joked about when she was with Kevin, she thought she was going to be on the big screen, and Kevin was like, no. Or
yeah,
I don't know if he said no.
He says no.
He said something, and I guess she kind of thought for a second. But I mean, look, they could even bring back the character I don't like, and have him on there doing other costumes and things, and it would still be, interesting to see. I hope we get more. And Tatiana Maslany did a fantastic job in this show. She
did. Yeah, she was. I just saw a meme with Matt Murdock. Sorry. She was really great. I also just read where it sounds like insiders are saying that Harrison Ford is going to replace William Hurt's character of Thunderbolt Ross. So it sounds like some reputable sources, some trades like Slash Film, and I think like somebody that used to write for Variety is saying that is
a done deal.
He signed on. So I guess we'll find out as it gets closer. But yeah, so interesting. We'll see if that goes anywhere with some of these characters, because he is integral to Hulk characters. I don't know where they're leading with Scar either. Some people think he might join some sort of Young Avengers team. I don't know. Some people think it could lead to a World War Hulk, but that probably only really works as a movie.
Give me a quick overview of Planet Hulk and World War Hulk. What happens, as brief as you can, in those two storylines.
Yeah, so World War Hulk, so Planet Hulk is I believe after World War Hulk. So World War Hulk was first. And it was he got banished from Earth. And I haven't read the story, but this is kind of like why some people thought we'd never get it, is because they kind of adapt some of it in Ragnarok with him going on Sakaar.
Yeah. And that's what I had heard before was when he left, there were some rumors of that when it showed Banner at the end of Civil War, was it? Where he left?
At the end of Age of Ultron, actually. Yeah.
Age of Ultron, where he left, and he was in the spaceship and flew off. So there were thoughts there that maybe that would turn into the Planet Hulk thing, and then with Ragnarok, where Thor ended up on Sakaar, and Hulk is the champion there that he's got to fight, and he's got the great line, "Oh, it's a friend from work" or whatever. That he got.
Oh, and I was wrong too, by the way. Planet Hulk, then World War Hulk. Sorry.
Where he got that from a Make-A-Wish kid on the set, which is still awesome to hear. But I'd heard the same thing that it wasn't obviously the complete story, but they took some of those elements to put it into Ragnarok, which is how you end up with Hulk as whatever grand champion that was there, blah blah blah, and everything. So what happens
I mean,
with World War?
people talk this story up, by the way, and I'm reading the plot synopsis, and I mean, it's just you can't really do it. I don't think you can really do it.
What about World War Hulk? What's that one?
So that's what I'm reading about right now. World War Hulk. He stops at the moon at some point. He's going to defeat Black Bolt. He then goes to Manhattan where he wants the presence of the Illuminati. He then goes to the X-Men and he defeats several teams of the X-Men. Then he goes to face off against Iron Man, destroying Stark Tower. He then defeats the New Avengers, the Mighty Avengers, Fantastic Four. Like, it's a lot of just fighting and knocking around people. And then he eventually gets captured and put 3 miles underground in a U.S. military custody. I just don't see them doing this. They might take the name, but they would totally change the story, which Age of Ultron is very similar. Age of Ultron took the name and it did not touch any of the actual storyline of Age of Ultron. So I could see them doing something like that because literally World War Hulk just seems like he's just destroying the Marvel universe, taking out so many heroes, and they're just not going to do that.
With Age of Ultron, was it more of a kind of an updated version where I don't know when that story originally came out, but where now, because everything's connected by the internet, that's how he was able to really go, at least in in the modern story, the movie we got, he was able to control so many things as everything's connected online now. And
so what's amazing, Casey, is the reason the name Age of Ultron took everybody by surprise is because when they announced Age of Ultron, I forget what year it was, the comic that came out was in 2013. Age of Ultron, the movie, came out in 2015. So actually, everybody's like, they're really adapting this brand new story. Like, everybody was kind of confused when that came out. So there was nothing to even really update. They just totally disregarded Age of Ultron and just did their own thing. So I'm not really sure. I think they just thought the name was badass, honestly. Was 2013
the first time Ultron had appeared at all?
No. He had been around for a while, but that storyline of the name Age of Ultron was 2013. Ultron dates back to probably the 60s, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Well, that shows me the MCU version. 68 was the first year of Ultron.
Wow, that's okay, yeah, that's wild. So, I mean, I guess with something like that, they could, if they've already kind of done Planet Hulk, what comics do they have that really involves Hulk's son?
That's a good question. Scar has appeared in... So his first appearance was in World War Hulk 5. I'm trying to see what other big storylines he's been a part of. He's had 93 appearances in comics. I'm trying to see. Most of them are in other titles, like Incredible Hulk. He did have a run called Scar, Son of Hulk. That went on for a little bit. That's probably what they do, but he hasn't been again, I'm not too familiar with Scar.
Anything major?
Not to my knowledge. He's a kind of a newer character. 2007 is when he was created. So
I thought maybe a Hulk's kid thing would have been going from the 70s or 80s or something.
No, yeah, they introduced him during World War Hulk, and it's amazing how fast some of these characters, for some of these characters, we've had been waiting ages for, and then some of them are like Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, for her show, her first comic run is 2013. It's when she got created, and boom, has a show within less than 10 years. And then some characters, we're waiting for a little longer to finally get some stuff. So all based off popularity, I would say, is kind of how they're doing it here. Like, I don't think Scar is very popular. He's probably not going to get his own project. For people that, if people don't know that, he's going to probably be wrapped up in whatever storyline they go in here with Hulk at some point.
It'd be interesting to see.
Indeed it will. If you want to reach out to us here, we're going to be going on, I guess, a little bit of a hiatus. I'm going to do Werewolf by Night at some point, not this weekend at this rate, but going to talk that, and then probably a little bit of a break until Black Panther, as I'm trying to set up the Daredevil rewatch still. I've got some guests lined up. I'm trying to find some others. So that's being worked on. And then actually on the DC side of stuff, because I do a DC podcast as well that I'll be putting on the same feed, Black Adam comes out this upcoming Friday the 21st. So I'll probably have a review of that on here at some point as well. But you can reach out to us on Twitter at TO Infinity Saga, email us marvelplusrecaps@gmail.com, or facebook.com/Infinity Saga Beyond. I hope everyone has a great rest of their week, and I guess we'll see you next time.